Welcome back to MDL Crochet for our weekly tips, tricks, and item makes. This week's item make is leg warmers. Now I used this big twist rave in the colorway Cayenne Crush or Cyan Crush, however you say it. You can say it either way. Anyway, it says it's a medium 4-weight. It's a little bit bulkier than that. So let's go ahead and get into it. Alright, so I've already measured what I need chain wise. That is 15.5 inches, which is going to be 50 chains. I'm going to go ahead and pull up 50 chains. To do the foundation row, it's the basic foundation row. Don't count the stitch. You go from the second one from this stitch. 1 and bingo. 1, 2, roll over, and you start pulling up your back loops into the humps. And you just pull up your loops and do that all the way down. And make sure your ends are nice and snug too, because you're going to be stitching these together. So go ahead and pull up all your loops, and then we'll do a standard return pass, and then we'll start the whole entire pattern. Okay, I'm pulling through the last few now, and I am using a 4-weight. So the pattern for this, because this is our foundation row, and the pattern we're going to do is very simple. It is our ribbing stitch, and we're going to do this for 8 rows. And this will be starting our first row. It is 3 knit, 1, 2, 3, 2 purl, 1, 2, back to 3 knit, 1, 2, 3, and then 2 purl. And you're going to just alternate that all the way down, and that's your ribbing. And you're going to do that for 8 rows. So again, it's 3 knit, 1, 2, 3, and 2 purl, 1 and 2, 3 knit, 1, 2, 3, 2 purl, and again 8 rows of this, and that is your ribbing. So I'm going to go ahead and do my 8 rows, and then we'll come back for the next part of the pattern. Okay, so we just finished up our ribbing, and that was 3 knit, 2 purls, 3 knit, 2 purls, 8 rows of that. Now we're about to start the next part of this, which is 10 rows of knit stitch, and that's all it is just 10 rows of knit. And then after that we do a different pattern. That's when we start doing an actual pattern to this. So let's go ahead and pull up 10 rows of knit stitch. Alright, I'm pulling through the last few now. And this actually starts the next part of the pattern. For the next part of the pattern, we're going to do 2 rows of purl stitch, which for purl, you just bring your yarn in front of your needle, pull up a loop like you're doing for, or go through the bar like you're going for simple stitch, drop the yarn over, and pull up a loop. Alright, so we just finished our 2 rows of our purl stitch. Now what we're going to do is we're going to pull up our loops like we would for a knit, because the next part of this pattern is going to happen on the return pass. So go ahead and pull up all your knit stitches, and I will see you on the return pass, because we're doing a different stitch here. The stitch we're going to be doing is the Afghan knot. So I'm going to continue pulling these loops up, and then I will see you here in just a second when we get to the end. Alright, so we're at the end. Just do my end closure, and pull up my loop. So the next stitch that we're doing now is the Afghan knot. So how we're going to do this, you're going to got your loop up, so you're going to chain 1. Then you're going to yarn over and pull through 2. We needed to knock off 2, we just did. Now you chain 3. So there's 1, 2, and 3, and then you're going to yarn over and pull through 2. Yarn over, pull through 2. Again, chain 3. 1, 2, and 3. Yarn over, pull through 2. Yarn over, pull through 2. That is the pattern you're going to use all the way down for this aspect of it. Chain 2 or 3. 1, 2, and 3. Yarn over and pull through 2. Yarn over, pull through 2. And just repeat that all the way down. And you're going to end up with little bunches of chains. And that's what we want. This is the Afghan knot. So we're going to go ahead and continue. Chain 3, and I'll meet y'all when we get ready to start the forward pass. So when you're doing the Afghan knot, when you get to the end, you should be left with 2 loops, technically 3. 2 loops left. So we're going to go ahead and chain 3. 1, 2, 3. You yarn over and you pull through 2. And again, yarn over and pull through 2. It's going to be a little bit tight there. And that's just the stitch. Now, it's going to look wavy and bumpy. Now we're going to start doing knit stitches. So you have this your very first bar here. You ignore that one. You don't ever work into that. But the very second one, pull up a knit. Now you're going to go behind your chain. And you're looking for, when you go behind your chain, you are looking for the very first set of bars, which is right here. There's the 2 bars. So how we're gonna do this is you're gonna go in front or go behind the chain, push it forward, go through it, and then pull up your knit right into that bar. And then go back in front, pull it up before the chain, and then right at the chain, you're going to push the chain forward, come on through, and then go into that next set of bars like you would a knit. And that's all this is, all the way down. It's the Afghan knot. And that's how we are creating the knot aspect. So before the chain, you go through the front. Then at the chain, you push the chain forward, go through it, underneath it, and then go right through that bars right that's at the end of the chain, and then pull up like you would a knit. Same all over again. That's all this is. And you're just pulling up your loops. And this loop, when we went through this side, that's what pushes our knot forward. So I'm going to go ahead and continue doing the forward pass so we can get our knot pushed forward. And then we're going to do the next step. And then after the next step, it is a complete repeat. And I will show you what we'll be doing and how we're going to repeat it. So I'll see you in just a second. Alright, we're coming up on the last stitch now, which is our end stitch. And you just handle it like normal, and it's a standard return pass. So go ahead and just yarn over, chain 1, yarn over, and pull through 2 all the way down to the end. This is what's making our Afghan knot stitch. Alright, so the next step of the pattern is, again, 2 rows of purl. So you'll do 2 rows of purl, and that is the pattern in a nutshell. This pattern that we're doing with the purls and the Afghan knot and then the purls is a stitch pattern called the knotted ridge, and it is my stitch pattern. And in order to do that, it needs, the purl, the Afghan knot, and then 2 more purls, and it creates a nice little ridge. So we'll do 2 rows of purl, and then after that, the pattern pretty much kind of repeats itself. So after your 2 rows of purl, you'll do 10 more knit stitch, another knotted ridge, 10 more knit stitch, another knotted ridge, and then 10 more knit stitch. And then we do another ribbing. That is pattern. I will continue working this up, and you should have a total of 3 knotted ridges in your pattern. You'll start with the ribbing, which was 3 knit, 2 purl. Do that for 8 rows, 10 rows of knit. Then we start the knotted ridge, which is 2 purl, a row of Afghan knot, 2 more purl. That is the knotted ridge right there. And then you'll do 10 knit, the knotted ridge pattern, 10 knit, the knotted ridge pattern, and 10 more knit, and then 8 more rows of ribbing, which consists of exactly the same on the other side, which was 3 knit, 2 purl. 3 knit, 2 purl. And I'll see y'all here in just a moment when I get further along. Alright, so I'm pulling through the last few right now of our last section of the knotted ridge. It's 3 sections. Again, it starts with 8 rows of ribbing, 10 rows of knit stitch. Then we do 2 rows of purl, a row of Afghan knot, 2 more rows of purl, then 10 rows of knit, 2 more rows of purl, a row of Afghan knot, 2 more rows of purl, 10 rows of knit, and our third and last block of the knotted ridge, which is 2 rows of purl, Afghan knot, a row of Afghan knot, and 2 more rows of purl. Now we're going to do the last section, which is 10 rows of knit. So just start your knit and just do 10 complete rows of knit stitch, and then we'll come back and start working on the 8 rows of ribbing. So for this next step, which is the ribbing, because we just completed our 10 rows of knit, and we're doing the exact same ribbing as we did at the bottom, and that consists of 3 knit and 2 purl alternating, and you'll do 8 rows of that. So we'll do 3 knits. It's 1, 2, and then 3, and then 2 purls. So I'm going to go ahead and finish up doing my 8 rows of our ribbing. I'll be back in just a moment when I have all this done, and then we can do the close off. Alright, I'll be back in just a moment. Alright, I'm finishing up the last few stitches now, and we're about to do our bind off. And like I said, it's just going to be a standard knit stitch bind off. So you'll just pull up like you're pulling up a knit stitch and just cast it off. You're only wanting that one loop on your hook constantly. And that is it. That is this entire project. Now we just gotta block it to get some of the curl out, or you can steam it to get some of the curl out. And then we'll just sew up the edges together, and you have a leg warmer. So I'm going to finish up with this close off. And also remember at the end, when you cut it, give yourself a long tail, because the tail is what you're going to be using to stitch it all together. Alright, I'm doing the last few stitches now for the bind off. And doing the end stitch, and then chaining 2 like I always do, and then giving myself a decent long tail, and that is so I can end up doing all the sewing, and I'm not having to worry about not having enough yarn to do the sewing with. So once you get your project blocked, and when you're getting ready to sew it inside out. So you'll just take your project, fold it over, and just sew the edges together. You'll be going through the chevrons on each side, and they'll stitch up and line up. Everything will line up perfectly, and you'll end up with the project that looks like this. And that is the back sewn side, but that is the leg warmer. And it has the knotted ridge. It has everything you could ask for in a leg warmer. It's going to be nice, thick, and warm. It's long, so it'll be able to bunch up. And that's it. So we'll come back and we'll finish this one. We'll stitch it together and finish our project off. Alright, so to go ahead and stitch this up, like I said, you just marry your two sides together. Make sure everything is lining up where it needs to line up, and you'll be golden. So you'll just go through your edge stitches just like that, and sew it. And you're sewing it inside out, so that way your sewing doesn't get seen. And just sew it up. You can sew it up however you want to sew it up, and just make sure everything stays lined up together. And that's it. Do it all the way down to the end, and you'll be done. And trim it off and weave it in, then trim it off, and you'll be good to go. So I'm going to go ahead and sew this up all the way down. And then we'll come back and look at the finished product and talk about it. See you all in just a moment. Alright, so we have our leg warmer sewn up. And you'll do this twice for 2 leg warmers. This leg warmer has a little bit of stretch to it because of the knit stitch, and then with the purl stitch here, and with the Afghan knot. These are very, very warm. They're thick, and they're a great Christmas gift. And as always, folks, if you can give me a like and subscribe, it'd be greatly appreciated. And leave me a comment. I will chit chat back with you. And as always, Keep stitching.